Traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com this February the 21st, 2021. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the indices, all of which moved lower last week. We did finish the week at a pin for February's OPEX. As such, we now have about 50% of open interest that has expired, leaving a potential move either towards 4,000 for the bulls or 3,800 for the bears, more likely over the next week. All of the FANG stocks were lower. Fewer IBD 50 stocks held breakouts, which is telling us growth might be seeing some rotation into value. We'll cover that in a few minutes. We also had most of our indicators neutral. 5 were bullish and 3 are bearish going into this week. There appears to be no safety trade. Gold has been moving lower. Silver is neutral. Copper did break out, suggesting strength in the construction group as well as builders. And crude oil remains on a bullish trend. The heat map is mostly neutral. It looks like it's basing for the most part, with most sectors taking a break. The heat map for the international markets is also improving slightly over the last 3 weeks, so we want to keep an eye on that. There's fewer IBD 50 stocks to review this week, as well as relative strength stocks with rising profit estimates in green. Blue dot scan, we don't have any candidates this week. Fewer stocks on the Dow Industrials look set up, and more of the stocks that we're seeing on the scans, as well as 20 50-day crosses and 50 200-day crosses for the list this week as potential trades. Bukowski showing 505 green with his CPI signal bearish at 17.9%, with 23 bearish patterns, 5 bullish patterns, and 255 patterns waiting for breakout. That leaves us with a neutral to bullish bottom line. We need to see how institutions, market makers, and dealers position their trades this week going into March the 1st. As we see rotation resume into the end of the month, that could mean some selling in the growth area that might continue, along with buying in the value area, industrials and dividend-paying stocks. Critical support is at 390, 3,900, and resistance is overhead at 2 levels, 3,950 and 4,000. Starting off the week, we want to focus on the fact that, number one, we closed right at the pin and major gamma level at 3,900 on Friday. We made about a 1.7% move intra-week from high to low. RSI is still below 50. We need to see that turn up if we're bullish. With open interest expiring more than 50%, what was on the books, that leaves us open to a move higher or lower. We're right in the center of this major volume by price support level or resistance level, and we'll be looking for reasons to think long or short to start the week. Presently, we are neutral on this short time frame. Volume picked up a little bit in the last hour due to OPEX, and stochastics was drifting lower towards 50. Going into a monthly options expiration, we typically see smaller ranges in price action. We saw that over the last 2 weeks, where price didn't move much out of this sideways pattern or range. RSI on the daily remains above 50, so that's more bullish than bearish. Volume did show us a distribution day. We haven't seen a distribution day since the last week of January. MACD is crossing, so that's more bearish. And stochastic could pull back a little bit going into the March 1st new month of trading. So that's something that we need to keep in mind as we start the week. We also see the weekly with RSI above 50. We have a doji spinning top for the last 2 weeks, a pause as consolidation keeps price near this area at 390 going into OPEX. Now we're free to move. So there's a possibility we could pull back, of course. RSI suggests that there's strength in the trend. MACD is above its signal line on the weekly. So really we have to watch for what institutions position. So it's really important to watch as institutions position for moves going into March with seasonal. So we'll have to wait for institutions to show their hand going into the month of March, which is seasonally a weaker month of the year, and then starts to see improvement in April. This is going out 5 years. If we go to 10 years, we see a little bit weakness. We see a little bit of weakness compared to February, and then strength again into April. With industrial production improving, there's a possibility of strength showing up in the value area, which we pointed out last week as well, and some rotation to continue out of growth stocks and IBD 50 names that we'll need to watch for. In addition to interest rates, which are starting to turn, we pointed that out last week as well. And generally speaking, when we see the 10-year outperforming the 2-year, that's bullish for equities. In addition, we see growth underperforming value. As such, we want to keep an eye on the industrial names that continue to move higher. That rotation shows up in the NASDAQ 100, many of those growth stocks producing a outside week as a way to consolidate some of these gains. We also have to be on the watch for a pullback in these small cap stocks that have seen lots of speculation in addition to traders chasing Bitcoin related names. As the strength of trend persists, we did have what almost turned out to be an outside week there too. The body of the candle closed inside of the previous week, so we did see buyers at the end of the week. I'm thinking that we could see a little pullback. It was on lower volume, so that's a good thing, and MACD remains above its signal line. So up in the air on what's going to happen with the small caps for the time being. We also see the S&P 1500 still on a buy signal. No fluctuation in the upper green line. We don't see any red or change in direction. We had a spike higher in the high-low percent on the histogram, and we remain on a blue elder stick, which tells us that we're at a pause rather than outright selling. And if we check the breadth of those three groups, the S&P 500 in the upper panel, mid caps in the middle panel, small caps in the lower panel, we can see a pivot towards the end of the week or a higher low. Further, if we break down the advanced decline percent, we can see the histogram popped higher on Friday on the big caps, the mid caps, and the small caps, with the moving averages in each turning higher. So that's more of a bullish end to the week, coupled with the percent of stocks that are moving higher on the New York Stock Exchange, 2,700 stocks total, a broad measure of market participation, finishing on a green histogram bar back towards the moving average. So we could be putting in a higher low. This measure of breadth, new highs versus new lows, and the New York Stock Exchange advancing stocks beating out decliners to end the week. Finally, we have the Wilshire 5000, which technically is only about 3,700 stocks at last count, I believe. This is showing the cycle on a bullish trend turning higher towards the end of the week. The bond stock ratio continues to show a lack of a safety trade as equities outperform bonds in the lower panel, with the yield curve, as previously mentioned, turning higher last week. We saw the 10-year outperforming the 2-year. The speed of the ascent is what's got Wall Street a little concerned. If we start to flag, that would be beneficial for the markets, while high yield corporate debt and junk bonds show no signs of concern from investors that are chasing yields, like we saw back in February, where the market in high yield corporate debt dropped off dramatically, giving us no reason to be concerned at the present time. Coupled with the performance in gold, another measure of market risk. If this is moving lower, that's showing institutions aren't concerned or positioning for safety in either gold or the other traditional safety trade, the US dollar, which has been on a descending pattern, consolidating a little bit higher in February, but still lower highs, which translates into less pressure on international markets, where we see most of the international markets moving higher, with a rather emphatic move in the copper or leading economic indicators, if you will. Copper bolted higher over the last 2 weeks, ending on an exclamation point on Friday. This is bullish for the economy, builders, and construction related names, as well as global economies as copper trends higher, together with crude oil, which has been on a bullish trend for 13 weeks or so, which is bullish for equities, as it has a positive correlation to same. Sector performance measured from week to week gives us a neutral to slightly fading look to the markets, while the energy sector, financials, and industrials improve, and international markets show for the past 3 weeks a slight improvement, with most of those ETFs above the 21-day and 50-day following through. Switzerland was a little weak on Friday, while the other international ETFs continue improving. US Spider ETFs, energy, financials, industrials outperforming. Transports also did very well, while defensive sectors like consumer staples, utilities, and healthcare pulled back, setting up a more bullish tone to start the week. Ten of the IBD 50 stocks are set up properly. 40 are not. ATKR is one that is set up. Sideways range at the 9 EMA. RSI showing muscle. Volume indicating institutions have been picking up shares over the last few weeks, and MACD is above its signal line. Builders First Source is also showing that strength that we pointed out in copper, construction related names, and builders, construction products providers. This one's sitting on the 50-day. RSI is rising, watching volume. MACD and stochastic will turn at the same time if we see a bounce off the 50-day this week. Century Communities looking for a follow-through. A builder of single-family and detached homes in Colorado, Texas, Georgia, and Nevada. Recent earnings, a nice beat. Holding the 9 EMA. RSI rising above 50. Volume increasing. Chegg showing a nice bounce off the 21-day moving average on volume. MACD's turning, showing us a nice beat for earnings 2 weeks ago. Crocs in the consumer discretionary group continues this bullish trend. John Deere, another one of those industrial names where we're seeing value stocks coming into play, gapping up on volume, RSI rising. Digital Turbine bouncing off the 21-day, volume starting to pick up again. Watch this one, maybe a wild card. Integris looking for a follow through on the bounce, maybe a retest of 52-week highs. Volume picked up last week. Etsy looks like continuation. Volume, I'd like to see more. RSI is above 50 and rising. Floor and Decor, another builder source, construction related name, Looking for a bounce to resume off the 50-day through the 21-day. RSI is rising. Volume picked up on Friday. MACD's turning. Fortinet, from previous comments, this one continues along its trend. It's a little overbought, a little extended. I'd like to see a little pullback to the 9 and 21-day, but look at that volume. That's institutions picking up shares. It could very well just keep going this week. MACD's above its signal line and rising, and stochastics is embedded. Generac a bit extended here as well. RSI showing strength. No doubt riding the trend on people buying generators from the company. The problems that we saw last week in Texas just being one. Tornadoes in the Northeast this week in the tri-state area, despite the weather. Ligand Pharmaceuticals also showing weakness as healthcare sold off last week. Very interesting, this stock, how it ran up. Looking to see if there's a bounce at the 50-day. If buyers come back in, maybe an 80-point move back up to the highs. Logitech trending above the 9 EMA. MDC Holdings, another builder, looking strong above the 9 and 21-day. Looking for a follow-through. RSI is rising. Company with a nice beat. Looking for a follow-through. 1st of February. Note earnings and sales continue to grow. Builds single-family homes for first-time and first-time move-up home buyers. HZO, MarineMax, holding the 9 and 21-day. Do we get a follow-through? Watching the volume and MACD this week. Marvell, one of those chip stocks we're watching this week for a follow-through. Note RSI, price above the 9 and 21-day. MACD needs to turn as a function of price. Volume did pick up on Thursday and Friday. Max Linear, MXL, also in the group, looking for a follow-through. Volume showing institutions have been interested. MACD's above its signal line. Another semiconductor, MPWR, note the strength. Need to see more volume. Big volume 2 weeks ago. MACD above its signal line, stochastics turning. Watch this one for a follow-through. Nvidia showing up on many of the scans and lists. Looking for this to hold the 9 EMA. Maybe consolidate up at this level for a potential trade. PTC continues trending along a bullish 9 and 21-day. RSI rising. Palo Alto Networks, network security, trending, bullish. Plantronics, I like these setups where we have buyers step up at a key moving average. RSI still above 50. We got volume by price support. We got MACD trying to turn, volume picking up on Friday. Watch the stochastics for a turn as well. ATR is very elevated, looks good. Rent-A-Center, RCII, looking for a follow-through. Company deals with electronics, operating franchise stores throughout the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, furniture, and electronics. Earnings in 3 days, so this would be more of a short-term trade, day trade potentially if it bounces and follows through. Tech target, while above the 9 EMA presently on the 21-day. This is an example of a stock that's a little bit overbought. We got RSI drifting lower. Volume did pick up, but MACD and stochastics continue to drift lower. So I'd be less interested unless it gets down to the 21-day and oscillators start to turn from more of an oversold condition. Texas Instruments, another IBD 50 chip stock, looking good. Volume picking up, stochastics, MACD. A little bit overbought on the stochastics, but MACD's turned up. Maybe stochastic stays embedded. RSI is above 50. Another confirmation if chip stocks start to move with chips and everything these days. And Williams-Sonoma looking a lot better at the 21-day. RSI is above 50. Volume increasing. MACD's turning. And stochastics moving from oversold. I like this stochastic setup. Looking for a move higher. AOSL, Alpha and Omega Semi, another setup. This one's from the relative strength scan. Stocks with rising profit estimates. Volume suggesting institutions. MACD's above its signal line. Stochastics looks like it's about to turn. Icing on the cake as ATR continues to climb, so look for large ranges during the day. Ameresco looking strong, above the 21-day, RSI rising. DocuSign with rising profit estimates above the 9 and 21-day, looking for a follow-through. MACD's above its signal line, looking for stochastics to turn higher. 5-9, another rising profit estimate scan, looking for a follow-through. RSI rising, volume increasing, showing institutions have been picking up shares, and MACD's above its signal line, showing bulls have the momentum. PTC, following a nice bullish trend, volume showing institutions, RSI above 50. Shopify, looking for follow-through, started the position recently for the kids. They have a few shares in this one. Looking for a follow-through and a breakout. Again, rising profit estimates on Shopify. Celldex from the relative strength scan, following through. Volume showing institutions have been picking up shares. I'd be looking for a little pullback to the 90 MA that holds for potential entry. Fifth Third Bancorp from the relative strength scan, following through. Banks are very strong. Watch the banks this week. We could see a follow-through. XLF, along with broker-dealers like Schwab, which was on last week's watch list, finished at the highs of the week. Encore Holdings, following through. Nice bullish trend. Jefferies Financials, again, strength in the financial group. Lam Research at highs, semiconductors. As wood prices continue higher, we see Louisiana Pacific and other wood product related companies moving higher, Weyerhaeuser as well, on volume. Micron, another stock in the semiconductor group, showing strength, volume, MACD above its signal line, stochastics embedded. Regions Financials, another bank related financial name, $20 stock, looks like it's going to follow through, MACD above its signal line and rising. SIVB Financial, another one, bullish trend. Volume, showing institutions are picking up shares. MACD above its signal line, stochastics embedded. ATR elevated. Stifel, another asset manager, analyst, financial name, looking very bullish off the 90 MA. Volume, MACD above its signal line, stochastics embedded. Cenovus Financial, another one. And additional stocks from the scans. These at the end are 20 50-day crosses, 50-day, 200-day crosses. That's Scorpio, bulk tankers, marine, transport stocks seeing bullish follow-through and could be setting up a trend. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. It is February the 21st, 2021. Want to get outside and enjoy the day. We've had 2 sunny days in Myrtle Beach, so I'm going to go outside and enjoy the rest of the day with my family. Take care. Have a great evening, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Ciao.